I'm Ann Savage. I'm the Executive Director of the New York Bicycling Coalition. Our coalition includes the New York Safe Streets Coalition, which has 150 dignitaries and member organizations from across the state, urban and rural, suburban, upstate and downstate, no matter where you draw that line. We are all here together to advocate for statewide solutions for the terrible traffic violence that's impacting so many people in our state. We stand here together today because traffic violence is a statewide problem that needs a statewide solution. And we're here to call on our legislators to make sure to pass 4 critical bills this year. We appreciate so much that Sammy's Law is in force now in New York State as part of the New York State budget, giving local control to New York City to control their own speed limits. And that is just the start of what we need to do for safe streets in New York. So we're here to talk about 4 bills. Hopefully Assemblywoman Fahey's going to be here any second.
10 seconds.
She's on her way. All right, good. She is here to talk about Stop as Yield. Stop as Yield is a critical safety bill that allows cyclists to cautiously get through intersections, protecting them, the pedestrians, and the drivers from bad interactions in intersections. Assemblyman Rivera will be talking about complete streets maintenance to allow more projects to have the requirement to look at complete streets options when they redo streets in our fine state. Unfortunately, Assemblymembers Stack and Senator Harcum can't be here today, but their Define Safe Passing bill is just common sense legislation. You should stay 3 feet away from a vulnerable road user, just like you should pull over for an emergency vehicle. And that's all that bill asks, is that people give a buffer to vulnerable road users and make sure we're safe. Finally, we're here today to talk about a very exciting new bill, the Speed Limiter for Repeat Offenders bill, sponsored by Senator Gounardes, who's here to speak today, and Emily Gallagher, Assemblywoman Gallagher, who'll be here to speak. This is a very targeted bill that impacts only repeat speeders. When they are putting us at risk, they need to have a device installed on their car that prevents them from speeding. Those of us out here walking and biking and using wheelchairs in New York State need to know that somebody who has 18 speeding tickets will have a device on their car that prevents them from speeding. With those 4 measures, New York can show our commitment to safety. We need the people that stand behind me, many of whom have lost a family member to traffic violence. We need to know that our legislators are serious about doing the right thing for all New Yorkers. Whether they're walking, riding, or rolling, or driving, we all need safe streets. We need to know to do what's right, and that's why we're here to support safer vehicles, safer roads, and safer speeds. Thank you guys all for being here. I'm going to turn the lectern over to Kate Rockwell, who's going to talk about why these bills are so important personally and what the deep personal impact is of the dangerous streets we have in New York State. Kate.
Hello. Thank you all for coming here today. I became a member of Families for Safe Streets after I was seriously injured as a pedestrian on a gray afternoon in 2017. I was hit in the crosswalk and with the walk light. I'd stopped at the curb and looked both ways twice. 3 of my great-grandmothers were killed by cars, so I've never been oblivious to the scourge of traffic violence. But I'm standing here today, alive and on 2 legs and without a brain injury, because of speed. What I remember is being about 2/3 of the way to the median, hearing a car engine, and realizing that I could not outrun the car coming at me. The driver turned left into me, hitting my shin, injuring my wrists and forearms with the car hood, and knocking me to the ground. He must have hit me at less than 20 miles an hour, a speed at which 1 in 10 die. By just 20 miles per hour, 40% of pedestrians hit or killed, and by 30 miles an hour, 90% are killed. Speed kills, drivers too. In side impact crashes, driving slower by just 12 miles per hour reduces fatality rates for vehicle occupants by 70%. Being hit by 4,000 pounds of metal, rubber, and plastic caused Among other injuries, a close-to-gloving injury on the inside of my knee and my meniscus to tear on the outside of that knee to compensate for the force. It felt like my leg had been torn apart, which is exactly what the MRI found. Just a sedan, traveling at fairly low speed, left me with permanent physical injuries and a shattered sense of safety. I was hit on a street that's 100 feet across. It was wide from the 1930s for a highway through Soho that blessedly was never built, but so far the political will has been lacking to redesign it for safety, with changes like our Complete Streets bill will incentivize. The driver failed to yield when he hit me. Our Safe Passage bill will amplify the need to give pedestrians, users of mobility devices, and cyclists space to move. And intelligent speed assistance for repeat offenders will prevent the minority of drivers who are unfazed by several speeding tickets from continuing to put their own and others' lives at stake. It's a common sense bill. Automakers advertise their powerful engines, but not that vehicles, guardrails, and human bodies tear apart. I'm an advocate because I could not accept that being seriously injured through no fault of my own means that I or someone I love could be hit and killed again. Next, we're going to hear from Amy Cohen, co-founder of Families for Safe Streets, and Sammy's mom.
All right, I'm going to do a little logistics though. We're going to all move to the right a little bit. So Fabiola, go all the way to that side. Everybody's moving to the right. Because we're here today as part of our...
Our left.
Your left.
Stage left.
Stage left, yeah. I was never in theater. And I had everyone do that. Because we're here today to fight for the Safe Streets package, and we have a demonstration of a vehicle equipped with technology to slow down our most dangerous drivers. And I just wanted you to be able to see that. Because the price of reckless driving is too high. All of us in Families for Safe Streets lost a family member or suffered a serious injury, and if some of you brought your pictures, your members from Albany, brand new members. We don't want any more brand new members. So it's my honor to introduce Senator Gounardes, the sponsor of the Speed Limiters for Reckless Driver Bill in the Senate.
Thank you so much, Amy. My note here. We'll get this all right. Here we go. Good morning, everyone. I'm State Senator Andrew Gounardes from Brooklyn. This past January was a cold, cold night, and the driver of a 5,000-pound Dodge Ram pickup truck with a license plate that read Undertaker made a sharp left turn onto Bay Ridge Avenue in Dyker Heights, just 1 block outside of my district. In doing so, the driver of that car slammed into 52-year-old mother named Xiao Hong Chen, killing her almost instantly. That truck, that 5,000-pound truck with the license plate Undertaker, had been ticketed by speed cameras 27 times in the last 5 years, including 7 times in the last year alone. Say that again. 27 tickets in the last 5 years, and 7 tickets in just the last year alone. You'll be shocked, I say, to learn that the driver of that fatal crash has faced no accountability and no consequences. Just a ticket. That is outrageous. But what is more outrageous is the fact that he was allowed to keep driving on our streets even though he has a well-proven history of not driving on our streets in a manner that is safe for anyone, a pedestrian, a cyclist, or even another driver. Here is someone who 27 times in the last 5 years decided that their desire to go from point A to point B faster trumped anyone else's desire to be able to live. That is what is outrageous. And nothing is in our laws today to crack down on the most reckless drivers on our streets. So we're here to say that enough is enough. We don't have to search for a brand new idea under the sun in order to solve this crisis. We know who the drivers and these vehicles that are the worst of the worst of the worst offenders are. We know that. And we also know that we have technology that we can deploy, that we have successfully deployed in other instances that will allow us to make the most dangerous vehicles safer. Decades ago, we knew that there was an epidemic and a crisis where people were getting behind the wheel of a car when they were under the influence of alcohol, with deadly consequences. And so what did we do? We said, if you have been arrested for driving under the influence, in order for you to keep driving a vehicle, to keep having the privilege to drive a vehicle, a 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 pound vehicle on our streets, you have to prove that you are not under the influence, and you have to breathe into an ignition lock. And if you pass the test, the car works. Technology has given us a solution for that problem. And so today, technology has also given us a solution for the problem of extreme reckless drivers who right now the law affords no accountability whatsoever for their reckless and deadly behavior. So we are, with Assemblyman Gallagher and I, we've introduced legislation to require that those individuals who have 6 or more tickets in a year, so we're talking about the worst 3% of drivers, the worst 3%, okay? So 97% of people will not be affected by this. The worst 3% of drivers who have a proven history of driving unsafe and recklessly, they will be required to have a speed limiter device installed on their cars, limiting their ability to travel above the speed limit no more than 5 miles per hour. That's it. Because we hear it all the time. Whenever we talk about holding people accountable for their actions behind the wheel, oh, you can't penalize me, I'm a driver. I need my vehicle to go take my kids to school. I need my vehicle to go to work. I need my vehicle to go take care of a loved one. Okay, we hear you. We're not taking your vehicle away. But we're damn sure going to force you to drive the speed limit because you have shown that you are unable to do it yourself. This would be the first of its kind in the entire country, the first state to adopt this technology in the entire country. I'm proud to say that we were the first jurisdiction anywhere in the country to propose this solution. I believe Washington, D.C. got a little ahead of us and has actually adopted it, which is okay, we'll give D.C. a little nod. But New York can be a pioneer in this space, just like we have been on so many other things. We were the first state to require seatbelts before it was even a national requirement. We can be a leader in this space today to target the most reckless, the most deadliest drivers on our streets, to force them to drive the way the rest of us drive, which is within the speed limits. And so I'm really excited about this legislation. I'm really proud of it. I want to thank Families for Safe Streets who worked on this idea with us and brought us this idea because we've been trying to figure out a way to go after these reckless drivers for 5 or 6 years now, and everything we've tried has been shot down because of the arguments that I laid out earlier. You can't argue against this. We're not taking your car away. We're not taking your license away. We're not saying you can't drive a vehicle. All we're saying is if you have shown that you cannot drive within the speed limit more than 6 times in a given year, we're going to force you to drive the speed limit for you. And so I think this is an opportunity for us in honor of Xiao Chen Cheng, who lost her life this January in my district, and for the countless families who have lost loved ones, who live in fear of crossing the street because they don't know if they're approaching that intersection, if that car is going to slow down or not, as they're approaching that stop sign, if that car is actually going to stop at that stop sign, if that car is not going to run that red light, or if they're just crossing the street to get from point A to point B. That's why this is so important. That's why I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you much, Senator Gounardes. We appreciate you so much. This bill is going to be life-changing for all of us. I'm now pleased, with deep pleasure, to introduce my dear friend, a huge supporter of all things bicycle, pedestrian, and safety, Assemblywoman Pat Fahey from the city of Albany and the surrounding area.
Thank you, thank you. I need to start with a thanks to each of you, and especially Amy and her family. I just would be remiss if I didn't say you are such an amazing example of how so many of you have turned such profound grief and trauma and horrific crashes, not accidents, crashes, into advocacy. So I am the biggest fan of all of you, and it's an honor to stand here with you as well as with my colleagues on yet more legislation, because we know these changes will work. Just as Sammy's law will work, my bill on Idaho Stop will work with the cyclists, and we know that speed kills. Speed kills. 1/3 of all traffic crashes are due to speed, or traffic fatalities are due to speed. So it does matter. Kudos to my colleague and Senator Gounardes, I'm sorry, as well as Emily Gallagher. We both have committee meetings, so I'm talking as fast as I can talk. It's an honor to co-sponsor that bill. Technology can help us. Technology can help us. Something has come unhinged since COVID with the reckless driving. Just this morning, walking a half block to an event, I saw another traffic accident, and which almost ended up in a fight on the street. So I also have the Greenway Trails bill. I have so many bills that want to help move this issue. But I just the other day, because of some horrific traffic crashes just here in this region in Albany, I've dusted off the bill. We've got to quit calling these accidents, these are crashes, and a simple bill to even rename that is important. So again, proud to stand with all of you on all of this. We can change things. There has to be, as the senator said, there has to be more accountability and consequences instead of the horrific tragedies that have been the consequences. So I'm going to stop there. Emily will talk more about her bill as well, but so proud to co-sponsor everything you do. And in my eyes, you're all heroes. So thank you for continuing to channel your extraordinary grief into such amazing action. I'm
So before Kate speaks, if you have an 11:30 meeting, you should probably keep rolling because there are some lines at security. So if you have an 11:30 meeting and you're not a member, you might need a little time to get through security.
Next we'll hear
All right,
from
everybody move closer together and go ahead.
Next we'll hear from Assembly Member Gallagher, the sponsor of the ISA bill and one of our greatest champions.
Thank you. Hey everybody, I'm so glad to be here with such brave people and on a beautiful day to talk about the culture shift that we really have to make as the state government. When we were trying to pass Sammy's law for all of these years, people would say the people who speed are going to speed anyway. And in my district, every month somebody is getting hit and often killed by someone speeding recklessly who has a record. And I know that that's true for Senator Gounardes and for so many of our colleagues, Harvey Epstein and the Lower East Side. We've all got this issue across the city and the state. And if we are really going to make sure that we are shifting the culture, we need a different approach on top to take care of those people that no matter what the speed limit is, they're gonna speed. And that is this auto speed limiter. That is the culture shift that we can make, and we get to do it for the people who can't do it for themselves. Because obviously, folks who speed over and over and over again, they've got a problem. And we need to address that problem the same way we address other addictions. The need for speed needs to end now. And this technology that we're previewing here today works. A report from the UK shows that speed limiters reduce traffic deaths by 37%. That is a remarkable number. And if people want to see a culture shift that actually impacts the people causing the deaths, we need this auto limiter to be passed this year so that we can get it into cars and get people safe for themselves and others, just as we do with other addiction issues. So I'm really grateful to be able to sponsor this non-carceral approach with Senator Gounardes. Putting people in jail doesn't work. It doesn't stop the problem. We need culture change to stop the problem, and this is a first step. Thank you.
Bye, good luck getting to your meeting, and thank you so much. It's now my pleasure to introduce Assemblymember John Rivera from Western New York, who'll be talking about his bill, Complete Streets Maintenance, which helps us fix the streets as well as the vehicles on them.
Thank you, everybody. I want to thank the coalition for all the amazing work they're doing. I know what we all know, and that is there's not one single silver bullet that's going to fix these problems. We know we need to approach it from every direction possible. That's why I took on this bill. You know, as somebody in the assembly, which there's probably not many of us that have a background a bit in highways, I know firsthand that decisions are made on how roads are going to look. And often, more often than not, decisions are only made by the things we have to do, not by the things we should do. What we should be doing is making sure that we're considering all modes of transportation when we rebuild a road. Not just and we're talking about real infrastructure changes and a change of mindset. And truthfully, if local governments aren't going to do it, then the state's going to do it. And we're going to make this happen because roads do not solely belong to cars. And for too long, we've accepted this idea that every decision we will make in road infrastructure is purely based on car traffic. But at the end of the day, we know that what's going to make roads safer is if there's less cars on them. And how are we going to get less cars on roads? By making them more accessible, by making them cleaner, by making them better, by making them better lit, by making them better designed, by taking into account bike lanes, by taking into account correct signage and lighting. So we're going to do this year. We're going to make this happen, and it's in part, a great part, by the great people that are doing this work right here. So thank you very, very much.
We are next going to hear from Leah Walton, safety advocate of the National Transportation Safety Board, who's come from Maryland to be here today.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Leah Walton. I'm a safety advocate with the National Transportation Safety Board. The NTSB is an independent federal agency that investigates transportation disasters, including highway crashes, and issues safety recommendations to prevent future crashes, injuries, and deaths. NTSB appreciates the opportunity to speak here today on the Safe Streets package, specifically about Senate Bill 7621 and Assembly Bill 0979. Which would require the use of Intelligent Speed Assistance Systems, or ISA, for repeat speeding offenders. This measure will reduce the deadly impact that speeding causes on our roads and help satisfy our recent safety recommendation asking states to reduce speeding recidivism. The NTSB has long supported ISA and since 2012 has recommended the adoption of this technology. Speeding fatalities are preventable, and it is time to face the reality that current traditional methods to control repeat speeding offenders don't work. We need stronger action. Speeding contributes to nearly 30% of traffic fatalities in the United States, and in New York, the proportion is even higher, contributing to 36% of all traffic fatalities in 2021. By implementing the Intelligent Speed Assistance Program as required by the Safe Streets Act, New York would show that it prioritizes safety by requiring ISA devices for repeat speeding offenders. New York City's ongoing pilot program using ISA devices on fleet vehicles demonstrates how effective this technology can be. We believe that the only acceptable number of deaths on our road is 0. While education, enforcement, and roadway design are also important tools, ISA is a proven countermeasure that can stop the most dangerous drivers from speeding if it is widely deployed. We applaud New York for pursuing this policy that would increase safety on its roadways and encourage the full implementation of our recommendation. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you guys all for being here and supporting these key bills. We really need safe vehicles on our streets, safe drivers in those vehicles, and safe streets for them to drive them on at a safe speed. This is what we need as New Yorkers, whether we are walking, riding, driving, or using a wheelchair. This is what we need to be safe, and these are common sense bills that do not cost a lot and need to be done this year. Thank you so much for being here with us today.